Announced by evil GM Eric Bischoff in storyline, but created by evil heel Triple H in reality, WWE's Elimination Chamber is so extreme and evil, dude. On the actual Elimination Chamber Wikipedia page, the stipulation is described as a mixture between Hell in a Cell, the Royal Rumble, traditional Survivor Series matches, and War Games. Hell in a Cell and War Games, I definitely get that. Big cage structure, I get the Rumble similarity too, kinda, with wrestlers entering at intervals. War Games covers that as well, I suppose. The Survivor Series thing, I've got no idea. Why have they... What, because eliminations happen? Okay then. Anyway, I'm gonna run through the entire history of the match right now. I'm Jack the Jobber, and there's not much more to say. Let's dive in. Survivor Series 2002. Yeah, the first chamber match takes place at Survivor Series for Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship, a belt that had simply been awarded to him a couple of months earlier. The game faces 5 challengers from the Raw brand, including recently returned friend-turned-foe Shawn Michaels, seeking personal glory once again when his career looked to be over. Triple H and Rob Van Dam start the match with the other wrestlers watching on from the now familiar pods. But this pairing of Triple H and RVD unfortunately also sees the first injury in chamber match history. That's because RVD's frog splash from all the way on top of a pod leads to him landing across the champion's throat. Ouch. The game soldiers on to the end of the match while Booker T notches the first ever elimination, taking RVD out with a missile dropkick. Why would you get rid of the crowd-popping athletic babyface first in the match? I don't know. Anyway, the Big Red Machine Kane steals a few headlines as well, slamming Chris Jericho through one of the pods, but the ultimate winner is, of course, HBK, who rolls back the years to last topple his former stablemate and win the World Heavyweight title. SummerSlam 2003. The following year, with Triple H as champion once again, but now struggling with a groin injury, the second incarnation of this match is set for SummerSlam. The key ingredient this time, though, is Goldberg, and really, he is the story of this match, going on an absolute tear and eliminating Randy Orton, HBK, and Chris Jericho consecutively, the latter one being once again absolutely demolished through the side of a pod. Well done, Jericho, It's becoming like your speciality. And of course, it follows that the winner of this match is obviously Goldberg. Wait, no, it was Triple H. What? Yes, despite Goldberg looking like an utter monster and Triple H even trying to lock himself in a pod to escape a beating, the champion actually retains after reversing a Goldberg spear attempt with a sledgehammer shot for the win. Yes, we get it, Triple H. Well done. You're the best. New Year's Revolution 2005. WWE's first ever pay-per-view in Puerto Rico also sees the first ever special guest referee in a chamber match, that being Shawn Michaels. He ends up involved in the action predictably anyway, costing Edge midway through the bout after eating an accidental spear. The main story of the match, however, is Randy Orton versus his former mentor in Evolution, Triple H. Randy eliminates another ex-stablemate in Batista and looks set to beat Triple H, win the match, and the vacant World Heavyweight title in the process. But Triple H benefits from the help of the already eliminated Batista to hit Orton with a pedigree and win the bout instead. Boo! Of course, Batista would also go on to leave Evolution just like Orton did, and he would defeat Triple H for the title a few months after this match at WrestleMania. Hooray! New Year's Revolution 2006. Welcome to the first crack in the armor of Super Cena. Having won his first WWE title at the previous year's WrestleMania, Big Match John is forced to defend it here against quite a mixed Elimination Chamber field. The fact that his final 2 opponents in the match are mid-carders Carlito and Chris Masters is quite a surprise, but the pair do make it to this stage, to be fair, by very effectively teaming up to eliminate the bigger threats in the match. However, Carlito just can't resist betraying his ally, eliminating Masters with a roll-up, only to fall victim to the same from John Cena shortly thereafter. Cena wins, but the twists are not over yet as Edge shockingly cashes in the first ever Money in the Bank contract in the immediate aftermath of the chamber match, taking advantage of an exhausted John Cena to win the title in devious fashion. December to Dismember 2006. Yes, this is the first non-Raw branded Elimination Chamber match, and the main event of the show that ended Paul Heyman's time with WWE, at least until 2012. This ECW branded event is still cited often as one of WWE's worst ever pay-per-views, and its main event is cited as a prime example of how not to book the Elimination Chamber, even with its extra added gimmick of each pod having a unique weapon inside of it for that wrestler to use. Amid rumours of a creative backstage struggle between Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon, heel champion Big Show is set to defend the ECW title against a field including very popular fan favourite Rob Van Dam and very popular up-and-comer CM Punk. Now, allegedly, Heyman's idea was to have Punk eliminate the Big Show towards the start of the match, thereby boosting Punk's profile and creating excitement thanks to the guarantee of a new champion by the end of the bout. Vince pulled rank though, instead having Punk the first man eliminated and centering the match around Bobby Lashley, who overcame all the odds in very classic sports entertainment babyface fashion. And Bobby is made to look ludicrously overpowered here, breaking out of his pod with a table, having been locked inside of it, before overcoming the odds, beating Test and the Big Show for the predictable, uninspiring victory. The crowd didn't sound too happy, it has to be said. I mean, this is meant to be ECW. A little bit more of an edgy product, please. Right, No Way Out 2008. With this event, the Chamber match moves to its now traditional home midway along the road to WrestleMania, and we also see the first instance of 2 Chamber matches in one night. It's also the first instance of the Chamber match not being fought for a title itself, with instead title shots at WrestleMania being the prize of both Chamber matches here. The SmackDown/ECW Chamber, ECW because it included precisely one ECW wrestler, Big Daddy V, this match was always going to come down to the 2 big faces in the bout, The Undertaker and Batista. And so it does, with The Undertaker booked very strong in particular, either personally eliminating everyone else or hitting the move that led directly to their elimination. He makes it to the final 2 against Batista, reverses a Batista tombstone attempt into one of his own, and picks up the win. Taker would go on to WrestleMania, of course, where he would beat Edge for the title in the main event. Over on the other side of the brand split, the Raw Chamber match is dominated in part by Umaga, who runs wild and can only be eliminated after taking several finishes in a row. The other main story here is the resilience of Jeff Hardy, who makes it to the final 2 against Triple H and really holds his own, even kicking out of a pedigree to a huge pop, only to be hit with a second pedigree on a chair and, losing the match anyway. It's all about the game and how you play it. No Way Out 2009, and we're back to the matches being for the titles again. This event, and you could say really both Chamber matches, are kind of all about one man, the ultimate opportunist, Edge. He heads into the SmackDown Chamber match as reigning WWE Champion, only to be humiliatingly rolled up by Jeff Hardy in just a few minutes, guaranteeing a new champion by the end of the contest. Yes, basically the idea that Paul Heyman had for December to Dismember, but wasn't allowed to actually do. Triple H and Undertaker outlast all the other competitors for a big epic final 2 showdown, and of course, it's Triple H booked to win a Chamber match once again after a pair of pedigrees to become champion. Over on the Raw side of things, Kofi Kingston is ambushed during his entrance to the match by Edge, who locks himself in a pod, essentially now forcing his way into the contest. The defending World Heavyweight Champion in this one is John Cena, but he's eliminated midway through the bout after taking 3 signature moves in immediate succession, and the match eventually comes down to Rey Mysterio and, you guessed it, the Rated R Superstar. The turning point comes when Rey is launched brutally into the side of a pod, allowing Edge to hit a spear, pick up the win, and leave with a different title belt to the one he arrived at the venue with. Absolute carnage. Elimination Chamber 2010. Ooh, it's got its own pay-per-view name now. Ooh, and this event is all about the swerves. The Raw Chamber match is loaded with storylines on the road to WrestleMania. We see Triple H target and eliminate defending WWE Champion Sheamus from the match, leading to a WrestleMania bout between the pair. And we also see Ted DiBiase Jr. eliminating his mentor, Randy Orton, leading, of course, to the breakup of the Legacy faction and a big triple threat match at Mania between Orton, DiBiase, and Cody Rhodes. But the biggest ramifications actually take place after this Chamber match, with John Cena surviving a final showdown against Triple H to become WWE Champion once again. Things are looking really good for the C Nation. Only for Vince McMahon to interrupt the celebrations and grant an immediate title shot to Batista. With shades of an exhausted Cena's loss to Edge back in 2006, of course Batista easily picks up the win. And there's more drama over on the SmackDown side of things. Some of it not quite in storyline either, with Undertaker being terrifyingly burned by his own pyro during entrances. Taker still goes ahead with the match, which is very lucky for WWE because, well, first of all, he's okay, but also because he plays a key role in the finish, being ambushed by Shawn Michaels, who emerges from underneath the chamber floor, costing Taker the match and basically handing the World Heavyweight title to a very shocked Chris Jericho. But why does Michaels do this? Of course, it's to provoke Taker into accepting a rematch at WrestleMania 26, 1 year removed from their absolute barn burner at Mania 25, although Taker wins this one as well. Nice try, Shawn. Elimination Chamber 2011. The SmackDown Chamber match in 2011 sees Edge enter as World Heavyweight Champion and begin the match against Rey Mysterio, and this pair of wrestlers lasts all the way until the final two as well. It is Edge who comes out on top with a mid-air spear to retain the title, but he's attacked after the bout by upcoming WrestleMania opponent Alberto Del Rio, only for his old tag team partner Christian to return from injury and save the day. The prize of the Raw match isn't a title itself, but once again a title shot against The Miz this time at WrestleMania, and with a field including biggest star in the company John Cena, I wonder who's going to win this one. Still, Cena is pushed very close by future arch-rival CM Punk, and also by the innovative John Morrison, who lands a crazy crossbody from the ceiling of the chamber down towards Sheamus below. And still, it's John Cena who wins, last eliminating CM Punk after an AA on the unforgiving metal floor of the chamber. Elimination Chamber 2012. Quite a conservatively booked event this one, with both chamber matches featuring champions going in and then emerging with their title reigns intact. The WWE Champion at this point is CM Punk, who eliminates eventual WrestleMania opponent Chris Jericho in very unique fashion, kicking him out of the unlocked chamber door where Y2J falls to the floor and is deemed unfit to continue the match. Odd. Punk is left in a final two showdown with The Miz, which he wins to retain the title despite beginning the match as entrant number 1. The other chamber match sees the victory of another indie darling, this one being World Heavyweight Champion at the time, Daniel Bryan. In heel mode at this time, Bryan spends much of the match taunting and cowering from the Big Show, who eventually just gets sick of this and climbs into Bryan's pod to beat him down. Bryan survives this, however, and makes it to the final two against massive underdog crowd favourite Santino Marella, who almost pulls off the mother of all upsets, only for Bryan to ultimately eke out the submission victory. Elimination Chamber 2013. Just the one chamber match at the 2013 event, and it is firmly on the undercard, with The Rock taking on CM Punk in a big-time main event. The chamber match features both members of Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane. It also features Mark Henry, who's on a bit of a tear in this one, before his role is finally stopped thanks to Randy Orton, although the world's strongest man continues to dish out plenty of punishment before he's finally stopped by referees. Get out of there, Mark! You've been eliminated. I'm sorry. The final three sees Chris Jericho taken care of by Orton, but the Viper is then immediately eliminated himself by quite surprising winner Jack Swagger. His prize is a match with World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania 29, which Swagger loses. Oh dear. Elimination Chamber 2014. Another one-chamber match show this one, but with far more of a spotlight on it than the previous year. This is all about two men, Authority handpicked champion Randy Orton and ludicrously popular fan favourite by this stage, Daniel Bryan. John Cena might have also been a big factor in this match, but instead finds himself eliminated after supernatural interference from the Wyatt family, leading of course to a WrestleMania match between himself and Bray. Authority stooge Kane comes down to help get rid of the Wyatts, but ends up interfering in the match as well to cost Bryan the bout and help Orton retain the gold. It's a deflating ending for certain, but one which was paid off in glorious fashion at WrestleMania 30, to be quite fair. Elimination Chamber 2015. Uh-oh. So yeah, this is the event that quite probably was responsible for there being no chamber match at all the following year. Yes, it didn't go down very well. But it had a hard task anyway, because both chamber matches at this event aren't even for a big title match at WrestleMania or for a world title itself, but rather for the tag team titles and the IC title. Now obviously there's nothing inherently wrong with those belts in question, but this definitely represents a step down in importance for the chamber stipulation. The tag match is the first of the two, and unfortunately it's quite a sloppy one, and one which doesn't seem to have been given much care from a booking perspective either, with reigning champions The New Day allowed all three members in the match for seemingly no reason, and teams breaking up pinfalls on several occasions where surely it would have made more sense to let rivals be eliminated. This whole match just feels a little bit slapdash, to be honest. We do get some positive moments, like Kalisto dropping onto a crowd of opponents from the ceiling, I guess, and the New Day retain, which is probably the right call, but sadly, it's just not a brilliant chamber match. Anyway, this is the best chamber match of the night, by a distance. That is because the IC chamber match is an all-time stinker, perhaps the worst in the history of the whole stipulation. The fun begins when Mark Henry's pod opens early and he is accidentally released into the match ahead of time, leading to mass confusion among the wrestlers involved. The one valiantly trying to keep things together appears to be Dolph Ziggler, although he can clearly be seen communicating with his opponents to establish some kind of action on the fly. To make things worse, a central theme of this match is Sheamus's pod not opening on cue deliberately, because Sheamus later reveals that it's all a heelish ruse, keeping him fresh for the latter stages of the match. But with the mess that was already caused by Mark Henry's entry earlier on, this whole device really falls flat. Anyway, Ryback overcomes Sheamus in the final two to win the IC title, and of course the Chamber stipulation is put on the shelf for the entirety of the following year. Elimination Chamber 2017. Yes, the Chamber returns in 2017 feeling a bit like a breath of fresh air at this point, with Cena defending the WWE title against a very strong field including AJ Styles and Bray Wyatt. And indeed, AJ and Bray make it to the final three against Big Match John, who finds himself eliminated by Wyatt to guarantee a new champion by the end of the bout. And that champion does indeed turn out to be Bray, who takes care of AJ Styles to win the WWE Championship for the first time, perhaps the crowning moment of his career. This isn't perhaps the most complex chamber match ever devised, but it's really well worked, keeps things relatively simple, and judging by the ecstatic crowd reaction to Bray's win, it certainly reaps the rewards. Elimination Chamber 2018. This event includes the first ever women's chamber match, in which Alexa Bliss's Raw Women's title is on the line. It features all the hard-hitting action and high-risk spots of a men's match as well, especially with Mickie James launching herself from the top of a pod. The champion Bliss finds herself outnumbered in the final three by Bayley and Sasha Banks, but Sasha turns on Bayley and it becomes kind of more of a free-for-all, which the champion takes advantage of, last eliminating Sasha with a spike DDT to retain the belt. It's probably the best chamber match of the night as well, because on the men's side of things, the slightly larger than usual 7-man chamber match is set to determine Brock Lesnar's opponent at WrestleMania 34, and really doesn't pan out in a popular way from a booking perspective. Fans did not like this one. The story of the match is a pretty basic one. Braun Strowman runs through almost everybody, picking up every possible elimination en route to a final showdown against Roman Reigns. Now, remember that this is pre-Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Very divisive among the crowd. And of course, to the surprise of nobody, Roman beats Strowman to the audible groans of the audience and books his ticket to the grandest stage of them all, where he loses to Brock anyway, naturally. Elimination Chamber 2019. We see another first in 2019 as the inaugural Women's Tag Team Champions are decided in a chamber match. It's an all-action affair with teams of various different styles, the sneakiness and comedy factor of the Iconics, the power game of Nia Jax and Tamina, and the reckless abandon of the Riot Squad. Ultimately though, the match is won by two real wrestlers, Sasha Banks and Bayley, who last all the way from number 1 to last eliminate Fire and Desire, becoming champions in the process. The men's chamber match sees heel champion Daniel Bryan defending his custom hemp version of the WWE title, and although the field is full of heavy hitters, there's only one man the crowd really want to see win at this point: Kofi Kingston. Bryan and Kofi do indeed make it to the final two, and after an elongated finishing stretch, Kofi misses a leap from one of the pods, and this ultimately costs him the bout. It's a crushing defeat, but one which would be paid off at WrestleMania with Kofi's clean victory over Bryan on the grandest stage of them all. Elimination Chamber 2020. Another show featuring one tag team chamber match and then a more traditional one as well. And also, this happens to be the last WWE pay-per-view before lockdown hit. The first chamber match is for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, with cocky heels Miz and Morrison defending against various other teams, including storied foes The New Day and the Usos, who begin the match against each other. Other duos get a chance to shine as well, such as the Lucha House Party with several high spots, including Lince Dorado's Shooting Star Press from the top of the chamber. Go Lince! He's my boy. Oh, God. Heavy Machinery prove a popular addition too, with Tucker showing deceptive agility from the top of a pod and Otis then crashing to the outside after missing a running tackle. Ultimately though, the heels retain their titles with a very dirty pinning combination. How dare they? The other chamber match is for a title shot at WrestleMania, and basically, it sees Shayna Baszler run wild. It's probably still the most dominant chamber performance ever seen. Shayna eliminates 4 of the entrants in the match before Asuka has even exited her pod. Then she eliminates Asuka as well to complete the clean sweep and set up a match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, which she then loses, thanks to a roll-up. I don't understand what Vince was thinking. Elimination Chamber 2021. Still the only chamber show to take place behind closed doors. This one demonstrates how things were kind of in a weird state of flux on the road to WrestleMania 37. Everything surrounding the 2 chamber matches here has a very up-in-the-air sort of feel. In the first bout, we see 6 wrestlers compete for a Universal title shot against Roman Reigns, but not at WrestleMania. A title shot immediately after the chamber match itself. This is due to Roman's now heelish ways and the political wrangling of his wise man, Paul Heyman. The star of this match is arguably Roman's stablemate Jey Uso, who picks up 2 eliminations and viciously traps Kevin Owens' arm in the chamber door, but Jey is beaten right at the end by the heroic Daniel Bryan, soon to be out of the company of course, but still very much a WWE superstar for now. Bryan puts up a brief fight in his immediate title match against Roman, but of course loses to the fresh champion, who is then attacked by Rumble winner Edge in the aftermath. Both Bryan and Edge go on, of course, to face Roman at WrestleMania, but the Tribal Chief comes out on top regardless. Meanwhile, in the main event of this show, Drew McIntyre defends his WWE title in the night's other chamber match. We see a very unique tactic from AJ Styles at one point, who gets his gigantic henchman Omos to break the outside of his pod, allowing AJ to scoot down to ringside, run around the chamber, and then enter it through its main front door. Oh. Now you might question, why wouldn't AJ want to just wait and be fresh for later on? And you might well be right about that. I certainly think so too. But it almost works for AJ, who makes it to the final 2 against Drew, only to fall victim to a big mid-air claymore from the champion. Drew retains, but the story isn't over yet, as he is attacked by Bobby Lashley after the bell, Bobby in a state of rage having lost the US title earlier in the night. Drew is then cashed in on by Money in the Bank holder The Miz, who then loses the title shortly thereafter to Bobby on Raw, who retains the belt against Drew at WrestleMania. What a tangled web we weave. Elimination Chamber 2022. This is a very odd show, not just because it's part of WWE's controversial ongoing deal with Saudi Arabia, but because both chamber matches clock in at around 15 minutes each, incredibly brief given the stipulation. In fact, the men's match remains the shortest Elimination Chamber bout of all time at the time of recording, but we'll get to that in just a sec. First, the women's match, which I think is meant to be this huge struggle for a title match at WrestleMania, that's how it's meant to feel, but its shortened nature makes it seem instead like an absolute procession for the winner, Bianca Belair. She marches out of her pod as the last entrant, eliminates Rhea Ripley, eliminates Bliss in pretty straightforward fashion as well, to get the win, and then she goes on to beat Becky Lynch for the title at WrestleMania 2. What could be more simplistic and dominant than that? On to the men's match then. So the problem heading into this match is that Bobby Lashley is supposed to be defending the WWE title, but he had apparently picked up an injury in the build. But rather than incorporate this into the storyline and find a replacement, WWE instead have Seth Rollins powerbomb Austin Theory through Lashley's pod in the match, riding the champion out of the bout as a result of this storyline injury. To mask the real one, I guess? So we effectively just get a 5-man chamber match instead, which goes some way to explaining its short length. The other reason is that the eventual winner is Brock Lesnar, who famously doesn't really get paid by the hour. He mows through the field in very dominant but also kind of predictable fashion, last eliminating Austin Theory, which, to be fair, is a unique spot, I have to give them that, throwing him from the top of a pod to win the WWE title. Alright Brock, congratulations I guess. Cool. Elimination Chamber 2023. Hype for the 2023 Chamber is at least higher than it had been the previous year in Jeddah, although it's not really down to either of the chamber matches themselves. Instead, really, most of this hype is the result of the big title match main event between Roman Reigns and hometown Montreal hero Sami Zayn. As for the chamber matches though, well, the women's match sees a flurry of late eliminations and elements of cooperation as well, as Natalya and Asuka clamp double submissions on Liv Morgan before Asuka teams up with Carmella to pin Raquel Rodriguez shortly afterwards. Carmella's wiliness takes her to the final 2, but she's no match really for Asuka, recently debuting a slightly new spooky clown look as well. The Empress of Tomorrow submits Carmella, advances to a title match against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, and loses. Oh dear. The men's chamber match is for Austin Theory's United States title, with the cocky upstart defending against quite a mid-cardy field, with Seth Rollins a clear favourite heading in and the biggest star. Theory spends quite a lot of the match taking punishment from his challengers, while Montez Ford plays at being Spider-Man, earning himself a lot of support over the course of the match. I remember really wanting him to win, but then he's eliminated by a stomp from Rollins and a cover from Theory. But as Ford is helped out of the chamber, Logan Paul rushes in and attacks Seth, costing him the match and allowing Theory to retain. Not a very satisfying finish at all, but I guess at least it's successful in setting up a WrestleMania bout between Seth and Logan. Elimination Chamber Perth. Yes, the first of the location-named Chamber pay-per-views, which seems to have continued so far. 2024's Chamber matches are both for title shots at WrestleMania, a tradition which is yet to be broken at the time of recording. It looks like this is perhaps the now regular function of the Elimination Chamber, acting very similarly to the Royal Rumble in that regard. The women's match features impressive performances from the likes of Liv Morgan and Tiffany Stratton, but with mega popular champion Rhea Ripley retaining her title in the main event against Nia Jax, that means there's really only one viable winner here. That would be the biggest star in the chamber match, Becky Lynch, who takes advantage of a scramble between Belair and Morgan to pick the bones and book a match against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, one pretty explicitly designed to further galvanize this bright young star of the division in the form of Rhea. The men's match is built quite heavily around its most annoying antagonist, Logan Paul, who takes slightly too long to gloat at one point and is pinned by Randy Orton. But Logan sticks around in the chamber though, dropping Orton with a loaded right hand and allowing Drew McIntyre to pick the bones and win the match. Like Becky Lynch though, Drew doesn't have the happiest of times at WrestleMania, where yes, he wins the World Heavyweight title, but spends too long gloating, is attacked by CM Punk and cashed in on by Damian Priest. Elimination Chamber, Toronto. Last year's show is more known for what happened after the matches have all taken place rather than the bouts themselves, but let's go through it. Firstly, the women's chamber match, which actually has quite an important pre-match angle, with Jade Cargill returning from the sidelines to viciously attack the woman who had put her on the shelf, Naomi. Nobody was really suspecting that. Or not many people anyway, certainly not friend of both women, Bianca Belair, who somehow keeps her composure to go on and win the match, last eliminating dastardly heel Liv Morgan and giving her an almighty welt from her hair braid in the process. Ouch. After the match, Bianca is stared down by not only champion Rhea Ripley, but fellow contender Io Sky as well, and of course the trio would go on to have an absolute show stealer of a match at WrestleMania. The men's bout is all about John Cena, of course, looking for one last chance to go to WrestleMania and win a record-breaking 17th world title in the final year before his retirement. The match comes down to Cena and CM Punk, but Punk gets hit by a stomp from his already eliminated nemesis Seth Rollins, and Cena somewhat ruthlessly presses the advantage. That's not very like you, John. Cena chokes out Punk with the STF to win the match and then sticks around to watch Cody Rhodes turn down The Rock's offer of corporate greatness in the show closing segment. And then Cena hugs Cody, and then his face changes, and then we all know what happens next. Thank you for watching, everybody. I've been Jack the Jobber. That has been every single Elimination Chamber match in history explained. Like, share, and subscribe to the video. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you very soon.